Okay, my bad, y'all. We back with. We had to break that up into part two. The laptop cut off on me, so that's where I was streaming from. So we just gonna continue off where we started. Let me get the thumbnail back up. Shout out to everybody for rocking with me. Let's make sure we got this new stream up. Okay, so we got that up. Let me get this thumbnail on there real quick. Pull back up, pull up ASAP. Okay, my bad, y'all. The laptop ended up dying on me, but we back. Nothing to it. Took a quick water break. Okay, let me give everybody a second to pull back in here real quick. Just in case, if you got disconnected from the stream, just reconnect the stream and come back in. If you are disconnected from the stream, just reconnect and come back in. Pull up, pull up. The stream was just disconnected, but we back, y'all. We just gonna start off real quick where we left off at. I'm gonna give it about 2 to 3 minutes just to let you know the others that were in the class pull up. Those that got disconnected from the stream, I'm gonna give them 2 minutes to pull up real quick. The laptop died. I didn't have it plugged in, man. My bad. It's only the second class, man. We still getting everything together. But I definitely will keep that in mind for next time, so we don't got to worry about that. Pull up, pull up, pull up. I'm going to give y'all a few more, about another minute before we get right back into it. Drop those comments ASAP so everybody know nothing stopped. Drop them comments ASAP. Drop them, drop them. Again, if y'all tuning in later on as one of the course students or, a member only access, just, you can skip around this section, to get to the actual meat and potatoes. But right now we're giving everybody a moment to get back in here. No, you didn't get kicked out, y'all. I kicked myself out by letting the laptop die, not having it charged up. But pull up though. We about to get right back into it, y'all. Okay, shout out to everybody that pulled back up. We about to go right back where we left off at. So just if you got to skip around this video just to get to this part. So finding what's important in each report. Some economic reports are quite simple in terms of what information they present, but many of them are chock full of data tables, charts, graphs, and analysis. You quickly realize that there are too many reports and too much data for one person to fully grasp. Fortunately, you don't need to follow every report, and you don't need all the information that appears in each report. Many economy reports provide a quick summary that highlights the most important changes. Some, however, require you to dig into the data tables to find the crucial bits. As I describe each indicator throughout this book, I show you where to find the most useful information. To help you determine what's important for your needs, I offer suggestions for reports that are useful for different types of investors and businessmen managers. Later in this chapter, this book also provides tips for creating and using your own set of economic reports in chapters 19 and 20. You can try to read all the reports, but you risk becoming paralyzed by data. Avoid analysis paralysis and don't try to track every indicator when you start out. Pick the indicator that's most pertinent to your task. Find out how it works and start following it. Then pick another one. Most people can get what they need by following 10 or so indicators. You may need more than that, or you may need fewer. Either way, I recommend that you add one indicator to your quiver each week or month until you're confident in your analytic skills. If you're not sure where to start, keep reading. This book helps you prioritize which reports are right for you and your needs. So just a little warning in the book, it says, unfortunately, economic reports aren't perfect. Sometimes they contradict each other, and they rarely paint a perfectly clear picture of the current economic situation or provide a perfectly reliable forecast of the future. I recommend that you first evaluate the potential impact of any contradictory or incomplete information. If the potential impact is high, in other words, if you or your business stands to lose a lot of money if the information is correct, then do what you must do to reduce the risk. Otherwise, wait for additional information before making big decisions. Seeing how reports are assembled. Most U.S. economic reports tackle only a small part of the U.S. economy, such as employment, personal income and spending, or inflation. But reporting for even these small slices of the economy takes a remarkable amount of research and data. To get a better idea of how economic reports are assembled, consider the Employment Situation Report from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS. The BLS bases this report on the following two very large surveys. Household Survey. The monthly survey covers about 60,000 households throughout the United States. Researchers asked about the employment status for each person living in the household. Establishment Survey. The monthly survey collects employment data from 140,000 businesses, nonprofit organizations, and government employers. The BLS collates and disseminates the results from these two surveys about a week after the surveys are complete. Although the BLS may revise the reported data in a subsequent release, many investors and business leaders pay close attention to the first release of this report. Measuring the entirety of the U.S. economy is a gargantuan undertaking. To create the big kahuna of economic reports, the GDP report, or the Gross Domestic Product report, the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis assembles and distills numerous economic measures, including consumer purchases, personal income, industrial production, business inventories, and current interest rates, showing economic fashions without the runway. Just as fashions change with the seasons, economic indicators fall in and out of favor with changes in the economic climate. Investors and business leaders are likely to care about different economic reports based on the current economic cycle and the particular markets they are involved in. For example, as economic expansion matures, investors are keenly aware of the housing and employment reports because a decline in either may indicate the first cracks in expansion. Pay attention to that. During an economic decline, on the other hand, investors aren't likely to care much about employment statistics. So during an economic decline, on the other hand, investors aren't likely to care much about employment statistics because employment is usually the last indicator to recover after the economy began its expansion. Several factors determine when investors and business leaders are most interested in a specific indicator. Of course, the indicator's predictive ability in a specific part of the economic cycle is one of the main considerations. Another is how quickly the indicator is made available and how frequently its reports are revised. The following sections discuss these factors and show how different types of investors react to different types of indicators. So, understanding market sensitivity. Indicators move in and out of fashion. The state of the economy affects investors and the market reacts to economic indicators. For example, as long as inflation reports show low inflation, those reports generate very little reaction or interest in the investment markets. But when conditions for inflationary pressures rise, inflation indicators rise to the top of that watch list, and investors, particularly bond investors, start digging into consumer and business price data for many sources to ferret out any hint that inflation is becoming a problem. Investors are a skittish bunch when things are going well. When the economy is growing, the job market is strong, and stock prices are rising, investors and traders start watching for unwelcome surprises. You can gauge how sensitive an economic report is and how it impacts the investment markets with a sensitivity rating. I use the following ratings in this book when discussing economic reports. So here's the 3 ratings. Low, which means rarely impacts the investment markets. Moderate, which means occasionally impacts the investment markets. And high, which means regularly impacts the investment markets. Sometimes an economic indicator is so important to the market that investors collectively hold their breath while waiting for the data's release. Other times, investors meet the same indicator with a collective shrug. How the market reacts to the indicator really depends on the current economic cycle. For example, during a recession, investors look for indications that things are getting better. They focus on the stock market indexes and the sector rotation model, housing reports, and reports of durable goods like automobiles and kitchen appliances. Also, as an economic expansion matures, investors watch for signs that the economy is becoming overheated. They look for rising interest rates, rising inflation signs of increasing unemployment, and constraints at manufacturing production facilities. Remember, bad news rarely comes as a complete surprise. When everything in the economy looks great, the first hints that something is amiss usually comes from predictable places. For example, when interest rates get too high, folks have a harder time qualifying for mortgages, and the number of housing starts usually drops as a result. We're seeing that happen right now as we speak. So make sure y'all share this stream, get the likes up. Shout out to everybody for pulling up right now. Hey, I know it's late, but this that time in the gym, where you got to get it in. It will definitely pay off. I told y'all, 60 to 90 days from now, those that, things haven't already changed for, everything can be different for you if you just, stay down for the come up and dig in. So, for example, when interest rates get too high, folks have a harder time qualifying for mortgages, and the number of housing starts usually drops as a result. Or after employment and the economy have been growing for some time, an employment report that shows no job growth may be the first sign that an expansion is coming to an end. Determining an indicator's accuracy and timeliness. If you want to follow economic indicators, you need to know when they're released and how accurate they are. Most indicators are released once a month, but some are released once a week. Others are released once a quarter, and a few are released only once a year. But knowing the publication schedule is only part of the equation. Don't forget about accuracy and timeliness. Some economic indicators are rushed out the door before all the data are fully collected. But even with the uncertainty that accompanies these reports, investors and business leaders are eager to know the preliminary results. Updated reports are usually released a month or two later. Other reports aren't released until months after the data are collected. The information in these reports is usually more accurate, but not nearly as timely. Remember, Economic reports rarely have the capability of being both accurate and timely. Given the choice, most investors and business leaders would choose timely preliminary results over accurate but delayed results. Even if a report will be revised later, investors want to know what data have been collected so far. I identify those timely indicators that are subject to significant revisions throughout this book. So seeing who's interested in what. Some investors and business leaders are interested in one kind of economic data while others follow completely different indicators. Although generalizing these preferences perfectly is impossible, you can easily match the type of investor with their economic interests. The following sections tell you which investors are interested in which indicators. Stock investors. Stock prices are a reflection of corporate profitability and profit growth, which are directly related to consumer spending. So, of course, stock investors focus on economic indicators that may signal changes in consumer spending patterns. The indicators of the most interest to stock investors in order of their market sensitivity, timeliness, and importance to the stock markets include. So here's the order of their market sensitivity, timeliness, and importance to the stock market. They all include employment reports. Employment is a key indicator for tracking consumer spending patterns. If employment levels fall, consumer spending won't be far behind. Employment reports include the Employment Situation Report, the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report, and the ADP National Employment Report. See Chapter 4 for details on employment indicators. Consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is another good indicator for anticipating future consumer spending. Reports include the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index, the Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index, and Bloomberg's Consumer Comfort Index. I discussed consumer confidence surveys in Chapter 5. Also, we have income and spending. The Personal Income and Outlays reports and the Retail Trade reports provide information about the current spending habits of consumers. Inflation. Consumer and producer price indexes provide insight into inflation's effect on the economy. Rising inflation means that consumer prices are trending higher, which generally means that consumers may have to scale back purchases of products and services. See Chapter 12 for the lowdown of these indexes. Manufacturing. The Manufacturing ISM report on business provides detailed insight into the condition of manufacturing industries throughout the United States. This report is highly correlated with the economy. The Industrial Production and Capacity Utilization report is also a key manufacturing indicator the stock investors keep track of. Also, we got the economy as a whole. The GDP report is part of the quarterly summary of all goods and services produced in the United States. It includes consumer spending for domestically produced products as well as imported goods. Although it's issued quarterly, it provides important insight into the economy and consumer spending. See Chapter 7 for everything you need to know about the GDP report. So bond investors. Inflation and interest rates are the primary concern of bond investors. As interest rates rise, the value of bond holdings falls, and inflation is one of the key drivers leading to higher interest rates. During periods when interest rates are high, bond investors look for the economy's turning point so they can lock in the high interest rates and profit as bond prices rise while interest rates fall. Although stock and bond investors may look to some of the same reports for information, their reactions couldn't be more different. The indicators that bond investors find most interesting in order of their market sensitivity, timeliness, and importance to the bond market include. So here's that list. Interest rates. The Federal Reserve is responsible for setting interest rates targets in the United States, so bond investors are very interested in their deliberations. To stay up to date with the Federal Reserve and interest rates, bond investors follow the Federal Open Market Committee report, which I discussed in Chapter 8, and the yield curve, which I discussed in Chapter 14. Inflation. Consumer and producer price index provide insight into inflation's effect on the economy. Rising inflation is a red flag for bond investors. Also, employment reports. Strong employment isn't a good sign for bond investors. They much prefer falling employment levels. Like stock investors, bond investors follow the Employment Situation Report, the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report, and the ADP National Employment Report, but they're hoping for results that are quite different from those that stock investors want to see. See Chapter 4 for information on employment reports. Housing. A strong housing market is a sign of a strong economy. So naturally, bond investors perform best when housing is weak. Housing indicators that bond investors keep track of include the new residential construction report, the new residential sales report, and the weekly application survey. See Chapter 11 for details. Also, income and spending. Bond prices tend to rise as income and consumer spending falls. So bond investors keep close tabs on the personal income and outlays report. See Chapter 6 for details. The economy as a whole. Bond investors are interested in the GDP report for its take on the economy and also for a specialized inflation gauge called the Personal Consumption Expenditures Deflator. See Chapter 7 for details. Currency traders. Those brave souls in the highly leveraged and volatile foreign exchange currency markets look for information that can cause the value of the US dollar to trend higher or lower. In general, the dollar rises in value during periods of strong economic growth and falls during economic recessions. Investors with an interest in the US dollar are likely to follow the same indicators that stock investors follow. Foreign investors in the US dollar prefer higher interest rates, but they don't like high inflation because it harms the value of the dollar. So last page for Chapter 3. The report that currency traders find most pertinent in the U.S. International Trade in Goods and Services Report, which reports the number of U.S. imports and exports and the current account balance, commonly known as the trade deficit. Exports are especially important because they have a direct bearing on the value of the U.S. dollar. As exports rise, the demand for dollar rises. So let's read that one more time. The report that currency traders find most pertinent in the U.S. International Trade in Goods and Services Report, which reports the number of U.S. imports and exports and the current account balance, commonly known as the trade deficit. Exports are especially important because they have a direct bearing on the value of the U.S. dollars. As exports rise, the demand for dollars rise. See Chapter 16 for details on this report. Commodity traders. The interests of commodities traders lie mainly in the price for agricultural and industrial commodities. As inflation heats up, prices for these commodities also rise. Industrial commodities like metals, lumber, and energy are more sensitive to the economic cycle than their agricultural counterparts. As the economy grows, so do industrial commodity prices. On the other hand, pricing for most agricultural products is more sensitive to weather patterns than the general economy. Expect commodity traders to follow the same indicators that stock investors follow. In addition, commodity traders stay abreast of the production and demand reports for individual commodity productions, such as the U.S. Geological Society's Gold Report and the Department of Energy's This Week in Petroleum and the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Outlook reports for individual agricultural products. See Chapter 15 for details on these reports. Of course, commodity prices are an exceptionally good indicator of the supply and demand for any individual commodity. Rising prices indicate high demand, limited supply, or a combination of the two. Falling prices show falling demand and abundant supply, or both. So that's what we got for Chapter 3, Part 1, figuring out the economy. And now we move into Part 2, making money, spending money, employment, and consumer indicators. So drop any comments, questions that y'all might have. Salute. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Okay. Essence says, for some reason, I can only get back on the live from the Apple device. Now I see the live on my Android device too, but not on the TV. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Shout out to X4TFX Doomfist for pulling up. Shout out to Pamela Crum for pulling up. Shout out to Blue Ice, Micah, Essence, again, Angry Lion, Blast. Make sure y'all drop a comment if you're viewing the stream, and make sure you also drop a like. So we got this one last chapter to get through. Okay, this chapter isn't too bad at all. Let me know if y'all got any questions. Blast said in there like swimwear. Shout out to Blast, man. Constantly pulling up, getting that education. You will definitely be one of those people that this information pays off for, because you're taking the initiative to pull up to class and, you know, do your research and get new information, so that way you can be more informed. It's 9:30 right now in Las Vegas, and I'm positive it's much later everywhere else in the world. So for y'all that, you know, are actually taking the time to be here live, man, shout out to y'all. Okay, let's get straight into it. So, chapter 4, counting jobs and unemployment. In this chapter, getting acquainted with employment situation report, noticing weekly claims for unemployment insurance, understanding the ADP National Employment Report, looking at the Conference Board Help Wanted Online Index, monitoring massive layoffs with the MLS report, following the monster employment indexes. So, a robust growing economy causes employment to rise. Many employees bring home larger paychecks, meaning more spending on consumer goods and services. High unemployment, on the other hand, is a result of an economic downturn. Fewer workers means less spending in a slowing economy. As an economy grows, any drop in employment is an avalanche warning. This drop doesn't signal that the economy will immediately slide off a cliff, but one false step can bury the economy expansion and cascade the economy into recession. When employment levels start to change, investment markets, business leaders, and Federal Reserve policymakers take notice and turn to economic indicators related to employment. As the business cycle matures, see Chapter 3 for details. Pay close attention to the employment statistics in this chapter. Each statistic provides insight into the job market and offers useful information about the changing economy. Use the insight to adjust your portfolio or business strategy in a way that minimizes the damage when a growing economy inevitably cools. In this chapter, I discuss 3 big picture reports and also point out some additional sources you may want to review. I list these indicators in order of impact to investment markets and the general business climate. Each succeeding indicator can help fine-tune your understanding of the job market and its impact on the economy. Salute out there in Memphis. I see you in the building, Pamela. Tackling the BLS Employment Situation Report. If you're looking for that single economic report that makes traders jump and that turns placeit markets tumultuous, look no further. The Bureau of Labor Statistics Employment Situation Report is the single most important indicator for investors and traders, informally known as the job report. It provides timely insights and surprises about the job market, unemployment, and employee compensation. Changes in the total number of people employed provide one of the earliest indicators that the economy is changing. Traditionally, economists categorize employment as a lagging indicator, but today's savvy investors and business leaders look to the Employment Situation Report for early hints about the economic future. This monthly report is especially timely because it's released only 1 week after it's been tabulated. Investors try to anticipate this report's results, but they are hard to predict. Although the report is subject to revision, investors and business leaders carefully watch for its initial release. Table 4.1 tells you what you need to know to follow this report. So here's that table. Employment Situation Report. So the release schedule, the agency, the web address, and the sensitivity to it. So starting with the first one, we got monthly, first Friday of each month, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, from the agency, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The website is www.bls.gov/news.release/empsit.toc.htm, and its sensitivity is very high. So let me show y'all what that actually looks like. Let me see. Okay, so a lot of y'all said y'all be grabbing this book too, so y'all will be able to follow along. But in the following sections, I walk you through the Employment Situation Report and highlight the most important details beyond the headline numbers, including where you can find useful surprises. I also discuss the way investment markets typically respond to this report. So counting workers and the unemployed. If you want to know how many people have jobs, how many are working full time, salute for pulling back up. Shout out to everybody pulling in. How many are working full time or part time? How many are looking for work? And how many have given up ever finding a job? Take a look at the employment situation report. In this report, you can find the following information for the prior month, along with any revisions to the 2 previous reports. So average hourly compensation, average hours worked, number of new jobs created, total employment, unemployment rate. The BLS uses 2 distinct surveys to accumulate this employment data. The household survey and establishment survey both try to gather the same information, but they use different approaches. One survey asks people whether they have jobs. The other asks employers how many people they employ. I explain both surveys and tell you how the BLS adjusts this data for certain factors in the following sections. So surveying households, the household survey. The unemployment rate that the employment situation report lists every month is part of the BLS household survey. The U.S. government asks approximately 60,000 households about their employment status. Each person 16 years or older is categorized as being employed, unemployed, or not in the labor force. For purposes of employment situation report, the BLS counts only the civilian population and excludes the military. The total labor pool, which is formerly known as civilian workforce, is the sum of all employed and unemployed persons. Total labor pool equals employed plus unemployed. Everyone else is considered to be outside the workforce. The BLS calculates the employment rate by dividing the number of unemployed people by the total labor pool. Unemployment rate equals the unemployed divided by the total labor pool. The BLS then reports the employment and unemployment information by age, race, ethnicity, sex, marital status, and education. So employed or unemployed. Okay, just glad you can make it back in. Employed or unemployed. Classifying people as employed or unemployed seems straightforward, but it's not as simple as you may think. Here's the gist of the classifications. Employed. The BLS classifies people as employed if they're at least 16 years old and have performed any paid work during the survey period. This classification includes people working in their own business, in their own profession, or on their own farm. It also includes people who have worked without pay for at least 15 hours in a family business or farm. Unemployed. The BLS classifies people as unemployed if they had no full-time or part-time employment during the survey period. They were available for work and they looked for work during the previous 4 weeks. Note that the BLS doesn't consider a person's eligibility for unemployment benefits when classifying a person as unemployed. If a person isn't working but didn't look for work during the previous 4 weeks, the BLS doesn't count that person as unemployed. Instead, it classifies her as discouraged worker. Discouraged workers are tabulated and reported in the household survey and employment situation report under the category of persons not in the labor workforce. Surveying businesses, the establishment survey. The establishment survey, sometimes called the payroll survey, takes a different approach from the household survey when gathering employment information. For this survey, the BLS interviews 140,000 businesses, not-for-profit organizations, and all levels of governments asking about their payroll. Excluded are members of the military, self-employed people, and domestic workers. Domestic workers are those employed in a home to care for a child, serve as a companion to a sick or elderly person, perform housekeeping, or carry out domestic chores. When surveying businesses, the BLS asks about the number of jobs created, the number of hours worked, hourly compensation. The BLS tabulates the established survey data, adjusts the numbers for seasonality, and reports both the raw and seasonally adjusted data. Check out the later section, Adjusting Data for Seasonality, to find out how seasons affect the job market. The BLS also breaks down the employment data by industry and geographic region. Seeing the differences between household and establishment surveys. As you may expect, the household and establishment surveys produce similar but not identical results. Table 4.2 shows the significant differences in the way the data are collected. So table 4.2, differences in household and establishment surveys. So we got household survey and establishment survey. So the different ways, one we got with the household survey is includes agricultural, farm workers, domestic workers, and self-employed individuals. Establishment survey differs because it doesn't include agricultural, farm workers, domestic workers, or self-employed individuals. And on the household survey side, we got distinguishes between full and part-time employment. On the establishment survey side, we got doesn't distinguish between full and part-time employment. Then back on the household survey side, we got counts people on unpaid leave as being employed. Then on the establishment side, we got doesn't count people on unpaid leave as being employed. Then on the household side, we got limited to workers 16 years old and under, 16 years old and older. And on the establishment side, we got not limited by age. On the household side, we got includes only U.S. residents. And on the establishment survey side, we got includes residents of Mexico and Canada who are working in the U.S. Then back on the household survey side, we got counts a person as employed only once, even if that person holds more than one job. And then on the establishment survey side, may double or triple count a single person if that person holds 2 or more jobs. So those are the differences on how they all different. So let's see. The two surveys rarely provide dramatically clashing conclusions. When conclusions occasionally contradict, you may have to dig deep into the data to unearth the discrepancy source. Taken together, the two approaches used to collect the employment situation data provide an excellent look into the health of the U.S. job market. Adjusting data for seasonality. Seasonal changes in the labor pool occur regularly and can be very large. For example, when students take summer jobs, they can swell reported employment levels. In the same manner, the ranks of temporary retail workers usually swell during holiday seasons. These changes can have a large but temporary impact on the reported employment numbers. Remember, seasonal changes in employment happen with enough reliability that the BLS can easily anticipate the change and correct for these seasonal differences. The BLS adjusts most of the data reported in the employment situation report for seasonality. The few unadjusted items are noted in the report. So exploring the reliability of the employment situation report. Instead of talking to every U.S. household or business, the BLS samples a small portion of the population and extrapolates the survey results onto the population as a whole. This sampling technique usually gives a good estimate, but it's not perfect. The sample population offers what statisticians call a 90% level of confidence, or what we call in marketing a 90% confidence interval. So you don't need to hide from this horrible flashback to your college statistics class. All this phrase means is that you have to think about a range of values rather than a single reported value. For example, a good rule of thumb is to estimate that the number of jobs reported in the establishment survey is accurate to plus or minus 100,000 jobs. If total employment reportedly grew by 50,000 jobs, you should interpret that to mean that the economy either lost up to 50,000 jobs or it grew by up to 150,000 jobs. The implication is that when job growth is reported to be less than 100,000 jobs, you can't say with complete confidence that more jobs are available that month. If the number is exactly 100,000, for example, all you can say is that a 90% chance exists that the number of jobs has either shrunk by up to 50,000 or grown by up to 150,000. Revising the data and the benchmarks. When the BLS first reports survey data, consider those numbers to be preliminary. The BLS will likely revise the data in the next 2 reporting periods. As news and updated survey results are tabulated, the BLS tends to revise the establishment survey more than the household survey, often because small businesses respond late to the survey. The BLS reworks its benchmark data regularly. Benchmark revisions can modify the methods used to collect the data, update the report's layout, or change the underlying assumptions made when creating the report. See Chapter 2 for more details. The establishment survey benchmark is recalculated every year to better represent the types of jobs currently seen in the marketplace. The household survey benchmark is generally updated on a 10-year cycle to adjust for the population changes reported in decennial U.S. census, tallying the unemployed outside of the United States. If you'd like to compare the U.S. employment rates with those of other countries, the BLS International Labor Comparison, or the ILC program, can help. The ILC program adjusts employment data from foreign countries to make direct comparisons for more practical. The ILC programs adjust employment data from foreign countries to make direct comparisons more practical. For more information, go to www.bls.gov/FLS. And that's it. Also, check out Chapter 17 for details on unemployment outside of the United States. So, highlighting key parts of the jobs report. The employment situation report starts with an excellent executive summary called the news release. This summary highlights the most recent job data translated from statisticians into plain English. In addition, the BLS issues the commissioner's statement and on the employment. Let me read that over. In addition, the BLS issues the commissioner's statement on the employment situation to the Joint Economic Committee of the U.S. Congress. The U.S. Commissioner's statement discusses the strengths and weaknesses in the U.S. job market. It's even briefer than the executive summary. After all, it's for Congress. You can find the most recent commissioner statement at www.bls.gov/news.release/jec.htm. Although these two summaries provide an excellent overview of the U.S. job market, I recommend that you look beyond the summaries and really dig into the employment situation report. In addition to the aggregate survey data, as summary tables, you find a discussion about the sampling techniques, details about the differences between the household and establishment surveys, and a discussion about seasonal adjustments. You also find answers to frequently asked questions and detailed explanations about the report, as well as in-depth information taken from the household and establishment survey, including average weekly hours and overtime hours by industry, employees by industry sector, employment status of the Hispanic or Latino population, employment status of the population by race, sex, and age, employment status of the population that's 25 years and older by educational attainment. A real-world example illustrates why digging deep into the employment survey can pay off. Late in 2010, the total non-farm payroll fell by 95,000 jobs. During that reporting period, the U.S. government laid off more than 500,000 census workers, and the state of local governments dropped another 100,000 jobs. However, private sector employees reported job growth. If you look only at the top line non-farm payroll number, you would have missed the good news that was obscured by the huge drop in government employment. The following two sections make reading the employment situation report easier by explaining the two summary tables it contains. Reviewing Summary Table A. The Employment Situation Summary Table A, see an example of this table in Figure 4.1, provides a detailed overview of the household survey results. Refer to the earlier section, Surveying Households, the Household Survey, for more information on these results. Summary Table A includes the following information. Drop those comments. Shout out to everybody for pulling up. Let me know that you are in attendance. So also duration of employment, employment status for civilian non-institutional population, and number of people not in the labor force, as well as number of people working part-time, and also reasons for unemployment, and also unemployment rates categorized by age, race, and sex. So here's that graph here. I'll try to just get y'all to, I don't want y'all to get too hung up on the graphs and things. I just want y'all to be able to get an idea of what it's looking like, what they're talking about. So they're just showing from November 2009 September 2010, October 2010, and November 2010. The change from October to 2010 and November 2010. So they're just showing the difference in employment statuses, unemployment rates, reasons for employment, duration of unemployment, employed persons at work part-time, and persons not in the labor force, not seasonally adjusted. So that's just an example of what it looks like. Dealing with the annual influx of millions of new workers. Every year, the United States, millions of students graduate from high school. Almost 3 million matriculated in 2009 alone. Some of these students enter the workforce immediately. Some go to college full-time and some work part-time during their college years. Regardless of the exact timing, most students enter the labor force not too long after their graduation date. The number of new graduates generally overwhelms the number of new retirees each year. So the job market needs to grow at a rate sufficient to absorb several million new workers every year. You can estimate that the job market needs about 200,000 new jobs every month just to absorb these new graduates. Any number less than that means the unemployment pool will grow. Retiring baby boomers may eventually change this dynamic. Boomers were born after World War II, from 1946 through the early 1960s. The oldest boomers reached retirement age in 2011. Some economists predict a shortage of workers to fill positions vacated by retiring boomers, perhaps as early as 2015 to 2020. Factor in the healthcare needs of the aging U.S. population, and you can see why the job market may be robust for future graduates. So, studying summary, Table B. Summary Table B summarizes the establishment survey results. Refer to the earlier section, Surveying Businesses, the establishment survey, for more information on this specific survey. Figure 4.2 shows an example of this table, which includes the following information: average hourly earning, average weekly hours worked, employment by selected industry, number of new jobs added since last month. Also, deciphering employment numbers. Savvy investors and business leaders find useful nuggets regarding employment numbers in the Employment Situation Report. Although economists usually consider employment a lagging indicator, modern businesses would disagree. They're sensitive to changes in purchasing patterns. Employees are the largest expense for most businesses, so the first sign of trouble often causes managers to quickly lay off workers to cut costs. Notice how many layoffs we're seeing in a lot of these crypto companies. We're seeing a ton of different exchanges and whatnot lay off a lot of employees. So it's basically what they're talking about right now. So these layoffs usually start to happen well in advance of a recession start. So you can figure out what these numbers mean and how they can potentially impact your investments. So remember, we haven't really heard the words that we're in a recession yet, but that's what it looks like it's leading to. So interpreting payroll changes. Month-to-month changes in non-farm payroll, as shown in Summary Table B, referred to Figure 4.2, make the biggest ripple in the job market. Consumer spending drives the U.S. economy, so more workers mean more people with more money to spend. Fewer workers mean less spending. The correlation is clear, so carefully watch for changes in non-farm payroll. Anticipating big changes from the jobs report. Average weekly hours is one statistic in the establishment survey that those in the know follow. The establishment survey size is so large that small changes in the reported number foreshadow big changes coming in the economy. This statistic can be volatile, so many investors use a 3-month moving average to smooth out the average weekly hour statistic. See Chapter 2 for how to use moving averages. 3 months may not make a trend, but many investors and traders watch for changes in these 3 months moving averages to anticipate future economic activity. So remember, although the actual value of average weekly hours isn't as important as the month-to-month changes, you can use certain guideposts. When the average weekly hour statistic is less than 41 hours, many interpret the drop to be a sign of economic weakness. A number less than 40 hours signals the potential for a recession. A number greater than 41.5 hours usually indicates economic growth, and 42 hours or more is economic rocket fuel. For those of you keeping score at home, you may have noticed that the average weekly hours in Figure 4.2 is 34.3. The number is less than 40. but it's up from a year earlier and up from September. It doesn't take an advanced statistics degree to realize that November 2010 was a terrible time for job seekers. Relaying employers' intentions. The diffusion index shown at the bottom of the summary, table B, referring to 4.2, is a source of valuable job market insight. See Chapter 2 for details about diffusion indexes. The numbers in this index indicate whether employers are planning to hire workers in the near future. A reading of 50 shows that half of employers plan to add workers and half of them plan to reduce staff. A number greater than 50 indicate that more employers plan to add workers, and a number less than 50 shows that more employers plan to reduce employment. Predicting market reactions due to employment changes. Investors carefully watch the employment situation report for unexpected changes. You see the most dramatic market reactions with an unexpected drop in jobs occurs after the economy has experienced growth for an extended period, which is what we're seeing right now. After all, unexpected employment weakness is often the first sign of an economic downturn. On the other hand, I can't recall employment strength ever leading an economic recovery. Why? The economy can improve on the strength of productivity gains long before businesses start hiring or recalling workers. The following sections discuss how you can expect bond, stock, and commodity markets to react to the employment situation report. Gauging the reaction in the bond market. The bond market has what often seems like a perverse reaction to employment news. What's good news for workers in the economy is bad news for bonds. For instance, when the number of jobs available takes an unexpected jump, you can expect the bond market to sell off in anticipation for rising interest rates. Investors anticipate that the Federal Reserve will raise short-term interest rates to keep the economy and inflation from overheating. See Chapter 8 for details about the Federal Reserve and its role in the economy. When unemployment rises, you can expect bond prices to rise too, which coincides with falling interest rates. Tip: when employment surprises occur, it's a good time for bond investors to reevaluate their portfolio positions because a drop in jobs is usually profitable for bondholders. If the job market is really shedding jobs, it's a good time to look at longer maturity bonds. You may also consider repositioning some equity stock assets into the bond market because long-term bond prices are more sensitive to interest rate changes. As long as interest rates are falling, holding long-term bonds can be very profitable. In fact, in this environment, long-term bonds can even outperform an equity portfolio. Pegging the reaction in the stock market. Stocks and bonds generally move in opposite directions. In reaction to the employment situation report, stock market investors love growing employment numbers and even love when employees work more hours and get paid more. The reverse is true as well. However, falling employment is bad news for the stock market. Remember, at the beginning of a new bull market, when stock prices begin to rise, the job report doesn't show much improvement in employment. Eventually, though, rising jobs can serve as a delayed but confirming indicator that the economic cycle is moving toward growth. Stock investors need to pay close attention to the job reports after a period of economic growth. An increase in employers who unexpectedly lay off workers is often an early indicator that the economy is cooling. Stock investors should begin making plans to allocate some assets away from stocks and into bonds when the cooling occurs. Noting the reaction in the commodity markets. Commodity prices are rarely affected by employment reports. However, one circumstance may cause prices of a few commodities to react when employment growth stokes fears of an overheating economy. The threat of inflation can drive some precious metals prices higher. Of course, all commodities are subject to inflationary pressures, but other commodity markets rarely react directly to the jobs report. Check out Chapter 15 for more information on commodities. Salute, shout out to XXI Gaming for pulling up. Shout out to everybody tapping in. So looking at unemployment insurance claims. Investors and business leaders carefully watch the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report for early clues about the job market and employment trends. Note that the Conference Board Index of the leading economic indicators also use the data in this report. See Chapter 10 for details. Remember, the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report is often the first indication that something is amiss in the job market. It can be a timely warning to alert business leaders and investors about changing job market conditions. For example, investors can watch this report to catch the signs that an economic recession is beginning. Here's the life cycle of a recession. A large number of people lose their jobs, and those unemployed people have less money to spend. Others become fearful of losing their jobs, and fearful consumers spend less and save more. Retailers notice that spending drops and reduce their inventories. Manufacturers make fewer products when retailers buy fewer goods, and they may even lay off additional workers. So table 4 through 3 provides what you need to know about unemployment insurance weekly claims report. So release schedule is weekly, every Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The agency that does it is the Employment and Training Administration, Department of Labor. Web address, www.dol.gov/opa/media/press/eta/ui/current.htm, and its sensitivity is high. So the following sections overview what you can find in this report and how you can use it in your investments. Make sure y'all hit that like button, get those likes up. Salute for everybody hanging into this late class we got, but it will pay off in your future. Just keep that in mind. Keeping track of unemployment insurance claims. The unemployment insurance claims that newly unemployed workers file are collected and reported in the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report. The report delivers this timely information so that the prior week's new claims are reported in the current week's report. The actual claims data that the local unemployment offices collect make up the weekly claims reports. The local offices forward that information to the state unemployment offices, which in turn forward the aggregate data to the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor then issues the newly collected weekly claims data every Thursday. Because the Department of Labor issues the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report every week, the report coincides with the BLS Employment Situation Report once every month. See the earlier section tracking the BLS Employment Situation Report for details. Given that the claims report is released one day before the Employment Situation Report, you can be sure that stock and bond traders, but especially bond traders, use the weekly claims report to try and foretell the next day's employment situation report. Sometimes they're successful and sometimes they aren't. The Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report also lists the states with the largest increase and decrease in insurance claims. The report provides an estimate for the total U.S. unemployment, but this number isn't considered as reliable as the one that BLS employment situation surveys provide. To many categories of unemployed workers that are ineligible for unemployment insurance exist and aren't included in the category for insured employees. Figure 4.3 shows an excerpt from the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report. In this excerpt, you can see the initial claims and the continuing claims. The continuing claims are labeled insured unemployment, abbreviated as insured INS unemployment. Both sets of data are adjusted for seasonality. However, both the seasonally adjusted SA and the not seasonally adjusted NSA data are reported. The data used in the continuing claims reports lag initial claim by 1 week. Shout out to Blast. He said, it's a lot, but I'm learning something. Hey, a lot of this information, subconsciously will stick, and even just hearing this information for the first time is very important, just to be introduced to this information. So now the next time you hear about these different labor reports, unemployment reports, these things kind of make some sense to you, and you can understand, how they benefit, stock investors or bond investors as well. Very, very important information. It seems like a lot right now, but this is the initial hard part, the initial break into it to, kind of do the heavy lifting work right now, so that everything else after this point that you learn becomes a lot easier. Okay, so now so I'm taking a look at this figure right now, which shows the week ending. Okay, let me show y'all this figure just so y'all can get a look at it. So it's just showing some of these things that we're talking about. Now, you may find that comparing continuing claims from one year to another, or even comparing one state to another, is troublesome. Most states typically offer up to 26 weeks of unemployment benefits. Some states occasionally provide longer periods of unemployment insurance on their own, and the federal government occasionally extends unemployment insurance benefits, as it did during the 2009-2010 recession. During this time, 25 states provided unemployment benefits for up to 99 weeks, and others provided them for 60 weeks. Smoothing jobless claim fluctuations. When reviewing jobless claims with the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report, make sure that you take into consideration some ups and downs. For instance, holiday-shortened work weeks often see fewer unemployment claims. After all, newly unemployed workers have one fewer day for filing claims. Applicants tend to catch up with filing during the week following the holiday. As a result, the report from the 4-day work week shows fewer claims than expected, and the reports for the following week indicates a big jump in claims. This factor, among others, makes for erratic week-to-week changes in the weekly claims report. Remember, to help smooth this irregularity, the weekly claims report provides a 4-week moving average of unemployment claims. See Chapter 2 for the lowdown on moving averages. Figure 4.3 shows a seasonally adjusted 4-week moving average. This number is the one that most analysts regularly follow. So, unemployment insurance eligibility requirements. Only those who are laid off from work are eligible for unemployment insurance. A layoff can be due to a variety of factors, including a reduction in workforce, a plant closing, a failed business, a business consolidation, or a buyout. Employees who have been fired for something they did or didn't do, dismissed for cause, aren't eligible for unemployment insurance. Further, those who are self-employed, including many agricultural workers, are ineligible for unemployment insurance because only those who have held a job for some period of time are eligible. Recent high school or college graduates are typically ineligible as well. Eligibility differences vary from state to state, but all require a 1-week waiting period to confirm eligibility before insurance claims are paid. When someone loses a job and applies for unemployment insurance, the application is reported as a claim regardless of the application's eligibility. This is why the new claims from 1 week don't always match the following week's change in continuing claims form data. And a lot of this makes a lot of sense, now that get in the background, a lot of this stuff, you hear about unemployment, you hear about, some of these reports and some of this data, and, it doesn't really paint the picture to a lot of newer people on how it all goes together. So even kind of listening to this movie on how, economic indicators affect the markets, that's good enough. Just listening to the movie of it, will help you understand, how to be, a better informed investor. So just keep that in mind, and don't get overwhelmed. So analyzing the claims numbers. Historically, when the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims reports show an initial 4-week moving average of more than 400,000 claims, investors typically take that statistic as a sign of economic weakness. They don't expect a recovery in the job market until the initial claims 4-week moving average remains consistently less than 375,000. Analysts consider a continuing claims value greater than 3 million to be quite troublesome for the economy. However, in 2010, unemployed workers had been eligible for unemployment benefits for up to 99 weeks, which makes comparisons with earlier recessions difficult. You can see in figure 4.3 that the number is greater than 5 million. Regardless of whether unemployment benefits have been extended, 5 million unemployment benefit recipients are troublesome for the economy, not to mention for the unemployed workers themselves. Determining how the market may react to increased claims. A strong correlation links increases in the weekly claims 4-week moving average with the deteriorating economic performance. Increases in new claims over a period of a couple of months are often followed by decreases in the economy. Although the reverse is also true, it's rarely a leading indicator. Economic activity often picks up long before that positive activity shows in a jobs report. The following list shows how Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report can affect the different markets. So here's a list of how they can affect it. So bond markets. Bond traders are especially sensitive to changes in the weekly claims reports. As I note earlier in this chapter, what's good for the economy is bad for bonds and vice versa. When employees start filing for unemployment insurance, bond traders anticipate weakness in the economy and bid bond prices higher, which pushes interest rates lower. Longer-term bond investors may not be as quick as bond traders to move when the weekly claims report suggests economic weakness, but they should still consider changes to their portfolios. As the economy weakens, lengthening the average duration of their bond holdings, especially as they take new positions, makes sense. Doing so may allow bond investors to capture capital gains as prices rise, while locking in the relatively attractive yields as interest rates fall. So stock markets. Stocks tend to fare poorly when an economy falters, so stock traders and investors are wise to consider rotating into stocks or less economically sensitive companies as unemployment claims rise. Historically, stocks of food and pharmaceutical companies hold their value better during an economic downturn compared to tech and finance companies. Currency markets. The US dollar tends to be strong when interest rates are high, unless high interest rates are caused by high inflation rate. However, which is what we're seeing right now. However, it isn't a certainty that this relationship will hold during every period of economic strength or weakness. The relative strength of the U.S. economy compared to other countries is likely to have a greater impact on the dollar's price than bond prices. And we also got commodity markets. If a linkage exists between unemployment claims and the commodity markets, it's that commodities used in manufacturing and construction tends to fall in price during periods of economic weakness and rise during periods of economic strength. Increasing unemployment insurance claims may trigger price changes in these industrial commodities. Salute to D Nice for pulling up. Shout out to everybody pulling up. So the other live stream ended. My laptop ended up dying on me, so we had to restart another live stream. So yeah, you definitely want to go back and catch this information. It really, helps paint the picture of what's going on, and it takes a lot of the worry, a lot of the uncertainty, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It takes a lot of that out of your investment decisions. And when you can start to invest and trade with a more clear mind, you're going to start making more money. I'm telling you, you're going to start making more money than the people who aren't taking this information in. So keep that in mind. Let's see, how far do we got for this chapter? So we only have literally a couple pages left in this chapter, y'all. So if y'all made it this far, congratulations. And, if you just tuning in or you caught this stream late, just replay it from the beginning so you can catch up. But let's get into this. So reviewing. So eyeing the ADP National Employment Report. In 2006, Macroeconomic Advisors, LLC, brought a new economic indicator to life and released it into the wild. They engineered this indicator, which is referred to as the ADP National Employment Report, to anticipate and improve upon the BLS Employment Situation Report. Flip to earlier section tracking the BLS Employment Situation Report for more information on this important indicator. Although it's not as widely followed or as influential as the Employment Situation Report, traders and investors use the ADP National Employment Report to help estimate the coming employment situation data and the report's market impact. So Table 4.4 provides some general information about the ADP National Employment Rate. So we got Table 4.4 here. I'm taking a look at it. It's basically the same thing as the other tables. It says the release schedule, the agency that releases it, the websites, and the sensitivity to it. So the release schedule for the ADP National Employment Report is monthly, published schedule, usually 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, 2 days before the BLS Employment Situation Report is released. It's released by this agency, the ADP and Macroeconomic Advisors, LLC. Web address is adpemploymentreport.com. Its sensitivity is high. So in the following sections, I explain what this report is all about and how to use its information in your investments. ADP is a data processing firm that provides payroll processing and other business services to a large population of U.S. businesses. Macroeconomic Advisors uses anonymous ADP payroll data to try and anticipate the BLS employment situation survey sampling results. So Macroeconomic Advisors looks at the same week as the BLS established survey, employs similar seasonal adjustments, and uses a similar cross-section of employers when creating its employment report. Reviewing key parts of ADP's job report. The ADP National Employment Report provides the following payroll-based employment information for U.S. businesses. So the total U.S. employment for U.S. goods producing industries, aggregate value for manufacturing, mining, and construction, employment for U.S. service industries, transportation, retail, utilities, warehousing, and so on, employment for the U.S. manufacturing industries, segregated from the goods producing value, employment for small 1 through 49 employees, medium 50 through 499 employees, and large more than 499 employees, U.S. companies. So ADP adjusts the data it provides for seasonality. Revisions are usually minor. Figure 4 through 4 shows a sample of the ADP National Employment Report. It shows total employment and the month-to-month change from the previous report. So here's a look at the chart right here. Got the industry / size of payroll, seasonally adjusted June through November. So y'all look at this chart. You could pause it here later, come back to take a closer look, or just, look one of these up to, see what they look like. Bitcoin at 19,846 right now. So keeping an eye on that. Now, comparing the ADP and BLS reports. The ADP report differs from the BLS employment situation report in several significant ways. Salute. Shout out to Jonathan for pulling up. Salute. Shout out to everybody for pulling up. Definitely able to catch this information. If you had the notifications on and you pulled up on time to class, then you got this information for free. Some people will catch this information later on, a part of a course. So shout out to the course members as well. But this is why it's important to have notifications on and be subscribed to the channel so you get all this information when it first comes out, because this most likely will not be available too long for everybody to watch for free. So I highly recommend you watch it as soon as you can. Most likely as soon as the stream is over, you catch up on this information, because it will either be moving to members only section or be going straight to the course once that's ready. So here's how they differ. ADP uses only private industry data. The report doesn't include any government agency payroll data. This exclusion is usually of little consequence because government employment tends to be more stable than in the public sector. However, state and local governments were first forced to reduce employment during the 2009-2010 recession. The ADP report didn't capture this reduction. Nothing like the household survey is included in the ADP report. In other words, only employers are surveyed, not employees, which means that some workers, including agricultural, farm workers, domestic workers, and self-employed individuals, aren't counted. Head to the earlier section, Surveying Households, the Household Survey, for more on that survey. Okay, that was dope. Shout out to Jonathan. He said he posted a website link to download free books on part 1 of this video in the comments. So this is Class of Better Informed Investors. This is chapters 3 through 4 and part 2. So remember, there's 2 parts to chapter 3 and 4. So you want to check out part 1 where he dropped that in the comments. He might even end up dropping it in the end of this video in the comment section once we're done with this stream. So shout out to the bro for that. But the ADP report isn't as detailed as the BLS report. The ADP report typically runs 5 pages long compared to a recent employment situation report that was 38 pages long. Although it may lack detail, the ADP report still provides a good summary preview of the upcoming BLS employment situation report. Plus, ADP says its estimates are a bit better than the BLS estimates because they're based on real payroll data rather than surveys. The ADP collects data from fewer businesses. The ADP collects data from approximately 340,000 businesses. The BLS collects data from 400,000 businesses. Both samples are very large, so the impact of the difference is generally small. Although the ADP report doesn't exactly match the BLS report, ADP describes its report as showing the true levels of employment. It claims that its preliminary report is closer to the final revisions of the BLS employment situation report when compared to the preliminary BLS survey data. So technical stuff, you don't have to really keep this in mind. It's just some of the technical note they put in the book for us. So according to the ADP, a very high correlation exists between the preliminary ADP report and the final revisions of the BLS employment situation report. The actual correlation varies, but it hovers around 0.95 correlation, where 1 is perfect correlation. So it's literally damn near perfect, you know. So they're saying that their ADP report is basically the equivalent of the revised version of the BLS finalized revised report. So figuring out how the market will react to the ADP report. The ADP National Employment Report can help economic analysts anticipate the BLS employment situation report. As a result, investors, traders, and business managers all use the ADP report to make important financial decisions. When these folk make these decisions, they can impact both the bond market and the stock market. I'll show you how in the following sections. So taking a look at the bond market reaction. Bond traders are most interested in employment reports for the quick trade. They can use the ADP National Employment Report to improve their positions, leading into the release of the BLS Employment Situation Report. Analysts also use the ADP report to adjust their forecast and consensus forecast as the BLS release nears. Longer-term bond investors are more likely to use these reports to plan for changes to their portfolio over time. When the job market shows strength, bond prices typically fall and interest rates rise. The reverse is equally true. In a tough job market, bond prices rise and interest rates fall. As always, markets are more likely to react to surprising results than to the reported data itself. Remember that a single report is only one of many considerations for traders and investors. So a tip, if you're a bond investor, you would be wise to use the ADP report with the BLS employment situation report to make portfolio adjustments. When the economy shows signs of deterioration, the maturity dates in bond portfolios should lengthen to lock in higher yields and possibly capture some capital gains. As the economy improves, look to shorter maturity dates to avoid capital losses and to make capital available as yields rise. Forecasting the stock market reaction. Stock traders, so this is something you want to remember, stock traders like bond traders are likely to view the ADP report as an opportunity to make a quick trade. Investors are more concerned with what the report means for the economy down the road. Weakness in the job market typically leads to stock weakness. Early signs of job weakness tell stock investors to make plans to rotate out of high growth businesses and into stocks that are less sensitive to the economy. When jobs are strong, stocks are too. Different stock sectors react differently to the ADP and other employment reports. People still need food and medicine, even in challenging economic times. So pharmaceutical and food stocks often perform better than tech and finance stock during an economic downturn. During this time, customers may like an extra beer or two, but they're likely to choose a lower cost brew than a craft beer or high quality wine. Couple pages here till we finish wrapping up. Remember, this information is free right now. This is, like somebody said, shout out to Jesus Alonzo. He said, priceless information. Sheep Army, by the super dip. Salute to the Sheep Anvil Army. So, advertising for jobs. The Conference Board Help Wanted online index. For more than 50 years, the Conference Board published a well-regarded indicator known as the Help Wanted Index. In it, they tallied the aggregate number of help wanted ads published in newspapers across the country. As the internet became the preferred job searching forum, the old help wanted index fell out of favor. In 2008, the Conference Board retired the newspaper-based indicator and replaced it with the relatively new internet-based help wanted index, referred to as the Help Wanted Online Index. Table 4 through 5 shows a quick rundown of this index. So we can see release schedule, monthly published schedule near the first of the month at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Agency that publishes it is the Conference Board. The website is www.conference-board.org/data/helpwantedonline.cfm. and sensitivity, too new to know. So remember, the Conference Board Help Wanted Online Index is released near the first of each month, making it among the earliest job market indicators available. Releases aren't on a fixed schedule, but the release dates are published and available on the Conference Board website as part of each report. The Help Wanted Online Index covers a period similar to that of the BLS Employment Situation Report. The following sections explain how you can use this index. Measuring the availability of jobs online. The Help Wanted Online Index reports the total online ads and the number of new online ads each month. In addition, the Conference Board estimates the number of unemployed workers available for each advertised job. It calls this statistic the supply/demand rate. The Conference Board collects data from a large variety of internet job boards, including online newspaper advertising and majority internet sites. The Conference Board updates the list of source websites each month. Small regional job boards may also be included, but those with a limited number of ads are likely to be excluded. Companies posting available jobs on their own websites aren't directly included in the Conference's board index. However, some job boards and forums do harvest available jobs from corporate websites, so these postings can make it to the online Help Wanted index. The Conference Board tries to distinguish new ads from existing ads. It also attempts to remove ads duplicated on multiple job boards. For the purpose of Help Wanted Online Index, an ad is counted as a single ad regardless of the level of the position or the number of jobs being advertised. In other words, a posting for an entry-level job counts the same as a posting for a vice president position, and a listing for 20 clerical jobs counts as one ad, just like any other job ad. The board reports job vacancies by region, by state, and by select cities, along with month-to-month changes and changes to the supply/demand rate. The section of Help Wanted Online Index called Occupational Highlights reports the types of jobs available in each geographic area. The index shows aggregate U.S. vacancies and the availability of specific occupations in select regions and cities in the United States, predicting how the market will react. Although the information in the Help Wanted Online Index is useful to business leaders and economic analysts, it's typically delivered too late to be interesting to stock or bond traders. The BLS Employment Situation Report provides similar information and is released several weeks earlier. So here's another tip. Even though this index has little predictive ability as a leading indicator, it's worth monitoring as a confirming indicator. The Help Wanted Online Index should move in tandem with the BLS Employment Situation Report, the ADP National Employment Report, and the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report. You can read about all three of these reports earlier in the chapter. As long as it does, it acts as a confirming indicator. If you find it's out of step, dig deeper to understand why it differs. Fire information, y'all. This is fire information. Even if you need to just go back and, run some of this stuff back to just get a better understanding, being exposed to it the first time, it helps break that wall down of where it just seems like it's impossible to learn. Who would have ever thought y'all would be in class right now learning economic indicators, man? Come on now. A lot of people just thought this was a meme token channel. We really get into it over here. So collecting the BLS mass layoff statistics report. Another report that's useful to business leaders and economic analysts is the BLS mass layoff statistic, or the MLS report. The MLS report is really a combination of two reports: mass layoff reports, which is published monthly, and the extended mass layoff report, which is published quarterly. These reports scrub unemployment data collected from state and local agencies to find and report large-scale layoffs. To be included in either report, a mass layoff must affect 50 or more employees at a single location during a 5-week period. These reports include layoffs at publicly and privately owned businesses, and layoffs at all levels of government. Table 4 through 6 gives you an overview of the MLS report. So I'm gonna give y'all a quick look at this. Y'all can pause that on it, if y'all watching this later on or whatever, just to get an idea of what it's saying. So now I'm gonna read it to you real quick. So release schedule is monthly and quarterly published schedule. So the agency that releases the BLS mass layoff statistic report is the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistic, Department of Labor. Their web address is www.bls.gov/MLS, and the sensitivity is low. Shout out to Jonathan Fulp. He said, I'm learning at 12:36 a.m. I have work in 7 hours, but this education will take me away from the 9 to 5. Hey, if you take this serious and you're pulling up to classes and you continue to learn and do your due diligence, I promise there's no reason why you will not be able to pass on that 9 to 5. There's, at the very least, the people taking my courses, tuning into my classes, should be able to replace their 9 to 5s with this information. Not saying everybody's going to get rich, because everybody's not, doesn't have the same, abilities, capabilities, whatever you want to call it. But at least you should be able to replace that 9 to 5. So let's continue. We only got a page or two left. So if a large company like Ford Motor Company were to lay off 50 workers at one facility and 50 workers at a second facility, these layoffs would count as 2 events in the mass layoffs reports. If those same workers remain out of work for 31 or more days, they would become part of the extended mass layoffs report. The BLS reports only actual layoffs. It doesn't consider or report planned layoffs. Therefore, if a company announces layoff plans but doesn't implement them, those plans don't become part of the MLS report. So also remember, Blast said just ordered a physical copy of that book. Should be here in about a week. Got a lot of other people said they ordered the book as well. Shout out to y'all that are really taking this serious. So Essence said, I know that's right. I'm looking to replace my corporate job. Salute. So remember, mass layoff events can occur at any time, regardless of the state of the economy. As results, these reports are poor economic predictors. In other words, they're not useful as leading indicators, but although investment markets rarely react to the MLS report, the reports sometimes affect individual stocks and sectors. Plus, it can provide excellent information about the strength of specific industries and geographic regions throughout the United States, and corporate managers may watch for supply chain disruptions and competitive pressures in the MLS report. So we got the last 2 pages here. So make sure y'all really tuned in, man. Hit that like button. D Nice said, I think Ford and 1 or 2 automakers are planning on layoffs this year. We're hearing a lot of information that we're learning right now that is warning y'all, letting y'all know of what's actually happened. If this picture is becoming clear to y'all of what we're learning here, we can see that we're actually in this current time right now, and we see a lot of these things playing out. So we should be able to already determine, start kind of getting our gears turning and determining, how we'll respond to this based on the information that we're picking up. So salute. The MLS data can be difficult to find on the main MLS webpage. Use these links to directly access the data. So mass layoffs report is www.bls.com/news.release/mmls.toc.htm. And the extended mass layoffs report is www.bls.gov/news.release/mslo.toc.htm. The BLS seasonally adjusts the layoff statistic, but it also provides the unadjusted data. It reports information regionally by state and by industry. Surfing Monster employment indexes. Monster Worldwide Inc. is the parent of Monster.com, the employment firm and internet jobs board. The company describes itself as a full-service recruiting firm, but it's mostly known for its website that provides a place to post resumes and review help wanted ads. The company also issues monthly, quarterly, in Canada, employment indexes known as the Monster Employment Indexes. Table 4 through 7 provides a rundown of the Monster Employment Indexes. So table 4 through 7, this index shows us the release schedule, agency, web address, and sensitivity. So the release schedule is monthly, generally the first Thursday of each month at 10 a.m. Eastern Time for US, second Tuesday of each month for Europe. Published schedule for India. So agency, Monster Worldwide Inc. Web address, about-monster.com/employment-index. And its sensitivity is low. Monster publishes employment indexes for the United States, Canada, Europe, and India. The U.S. Monster Employment Index is published on the day before the BLS Employment Situation Report. Typically, this day is the first Thursday of the month. However, if the BLS Employment Situation Report is released on the first day of the month, the Monster Employment Index comes out on the last day of the previous month. The Monster Employment Indexes are published for Europe, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Sweden, and United Kingdom on the second Tuesday of each month. The Monster Employment Index Canada is released quarterly. You can view the publishing schedule for the Monster Employment Index India at about-monster.com/employment/schedule/164. The Monster Employment Indexes show information from monster.com along with data from other major job boards and career sites in the United States that report. The report is segregated by industry, occupation, city, and region. The indexes also show the top growth industries and top growth occupations, as well as the lowest growth industries and occupations. Reports for select U.S. cities called the U.S. Monsters Local Index are also available. Visit about-monster.com/employment/index/16 for more information. Remember, help wanted ads are a precursor to hiring. And in that sense, these indexes are billed by Monster.com as leading indicators to anticipate job growth or decline. However, the real value of the Monster Employment Indexes comes from their being released just a day before the BLS Employment Situation Report. Because of this release date, investors, business leaders, and analysts watch these indexes for significant changes that may find their way into the Employment Situation Report. Even so, the Monster Employment Indexes rarely move the markets on their own. So that's what we got for chapter 3 and 4 today. We'll be doing chapters 5 and 6 tomorrow, possibly even squeeze in an extra chapter. Shout out to y'all, man. Y'all are really taking this serious. Leave a comment, everybody in here. Shout out to Jennifer for pulling up. Appreciate you for pulling up. D Nice said also, I think later this year is going to be more issues of not being able to make and get those semiconductor chips. D Nice, okay, salute. Leave y'all final comments. Say what's up in the comment section, y'all, to all the students that will be catching this stream later. Remember, yesterday's class had over 800 students pull up. So leave a comment, say what's up to the, future 800 people that will pull up on this class, possibly more, possibly less, we don't know. But hopefully this continues to grow. People see the value in, actually building on your education and not just floating in the markets. I see way too many people been in crypto stocks for a year, 2 years, and never picked up one of these. Never picked up a book. Never took it to the next level. You got to take it to the next level. We got economic indicators, technical analysis for dummies. I told y'all, I got rich after these books. I got rich after Candlesticks, Charting Demystified, Technical Analysis for Dummies. I'm trying to tell y'all, we already had some money, but we turned it up once we learned this information. Once we were able to feel more confident and really truly understand what we were doing and where we were moving, that's when things got a lot easier. So salute. Make sure y'all hit that thumbs up like button. Appreciate y'all for pulling up on the stream. Shout out to Pamela, shout out to Jennifer, shout out to D Nice. And tomorrow's class, we'll get that one done a lot earlier. If we do end up doing 2 classes around this time that we started this class today, we'll probably be around that second class tomorrow. But salute. Essence says, hey, new students, let's get this knowledge in the bag. Angry Lion drop the money emojis, the money face emojis. D Nice said, what's up all? Hoping to see y'all tomorrow. Jonathan Foltz said, thank you, brother. Appreciate you for pulling up, bro. Jennifer says, sexy and smart. Salute, Jennifer. Pamela said, appreciate the information. You are a blessing for helping us. Shout out, you blessing yourself by pulling up to get this information. Y'all could have been anywhere right now on YouTube. Y'all could have been watching pranks, I don't know, whatever people be watching right now. And y'all chose to, get in y'all bags right now. So shout out to y'all, man. Salute, salute, salute. If you want to become a channel member, let's say you miss out on some of these classes. You want to become a channel member because some of these videos will not be available for regular viewing purposes later on. So if you want to become a channel member, find that button down there or look in the description section. You can join, become a channel member, and get access to members only content on the channel. Salute, salute, salute. Shout out to King Virgo, said appreciate everything. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. Blast said leave a like, y'all. Make sure y'all leave a like. We had over 800 plus students in the building yesterday in that class, and only 100 and something likes. What's going on, man? I know this might be different. This might be new. Y'all might not be used to this, but this information is well needed, and I definitely need y'all, y'all support, by smashing the like button to let me know that y'all appreciate this content. Drop it in the comments. Let me know that y'all appreciate it so we can keep this going, man. I'm good. I'm good already, y'all. I mean, of course, we all want to get better, but, I'm doing this to help improve y'all. I could just do news updates. I could just, tell you what the price is for the day, but we're spending multiple hours out the day for free to educate y'all. So this is very, very important. Make sure you got the subscribe button on. Make sure you share this video with somebody. Let them know this is valuable. This information will cost, soon. So appreciate everybody for pulling up. Drop a comment on the video after the live stream has ended, so that way it actually shows up in the end of the video as well. And appreciate y'all for pulling up, man. And we are out. Oh, and shout out to the course students, man. Keep going through this. Hopefully, this has been a very engaging, experience for y'all, and y'all are able to soak up a lot. Remember, sometimes you might have to play some of this information back. Don't be scared to rewind it. And you really want to play it in regular speed, but let's say you already watched it one time and you're going back to look for a section that you look for, then you could play it in a faster speed. A lot of people don't know about that. You really want to soak it up in regular speed, but if you're going back to listen to it for a second, third, fourth time, then you can do that at, a faster speed. So again, appreciate y'all for pulling up on me, and we are out.